Welcome to Beyond the Red Carpet. I'm Francine Brokaw, and today I have from across the pond, Nick Bullen, the co-founder and the editor-in-chief of True Royalty TV. Welcome, Nick.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's very nice to see you.
Well, we over here in America, we are always interested in the royals. And even though we don't have our own royals, it's interesting to see what happens overseas, and we're always paying attention. And I think this is the month that Diana would have been 60. And I know there's a lot going on for this week, but let's talk about Diana before we go back into True Royalty and talk about the network itself. But Diana, how in your mind did she change the royalty?
So I think Diana changed royalty immeasurably, really. And as you say, on the 1st of July, she would have been 60 had she still been with us. And it's incredible to think, she died in her sort of late 30s. She was younger than Meghan and Kate both are now, which is slightly shocking when you think about it in those terms. But Diana changed it in so many ways because she brought a freshness that hadn't been seen before. And if you remember what the world was like in sort of 1979, 1980, when she first appeared on the world stage, we were just coming out of strikes and depression in the UK. You in the States had these sort of hostage crisis that Reagan had been dealing with, and sort of Jimmy Carter had been dealing with, I think, as well. And it was just, it was a pretty bleak world at that point. And Diana brought a freshness in. And I think that freshness is something that stayed with her across her royal career. And we can talk lots about the detail of it, but I would say that was the essence. She brought a freshness.
Yes, well, to us and to everybody around the world, she is frozen in time at the age of 36, which here in the United States, we see John Kennedy frozen in time in his 40s and the young, vibrant president. And now we see Diana frozen at that time. 60 years old, that's hard to imagine her because it's been all these years. But does she still hold over there the love and affection after all these have come out about her history? Does she still hold the affection of the British people?
I think so, very, very much. I think Diana really holds the affection of the British people and people across the world, really, because she touched people in a way that royalty had never done before. Remember how she touched patients and with HIV. No one had done that before. She had victims of landmines sitting on her lap. She cradled sort of babies that were sick in Pakistan. She was a very, very hands-on royal. And I think that that stayed with people. And the fact that, she lived in many ways a very sad life, that tragedy stayed with people. But I think more than anything, her boys have kept her legacy alive. And you see Diana through her boys whenever we see them out on sort of the world stage. So I think, Diana in all her forms, through her children and through her legacy, is as resonant now as she was many years ago.
And I think she would be head over heels about her grandchildren. And I know she would be extremely proud of William because he's carrying on like she did in the background, but also bringing the charm that, and I don't want to say dullness of the royals, but he does have more personality that he brings up along with Katherine that we're not so used to seeing it. And it's basically started with Diana. Is that correct?
I think it's correct that William has really taken on his mother's work in the broadest sense. So I think, if you look at Harry and Meghan and what they're doing, clearly Harry is very much his mother's son and is amazing with young children and sort of has his mother's ability to reach people very easily. But on the broader picture, William and Katherine have managed to combine the thing that she did very well, which is to be real and relatable, but also to be royal. And I think William and Catherine, particularly in this last year through the pandemic, have been very active in the community in a way that Diana was. And I think as much as Diana was a sort of royal maverick, she also understood duty and service to the crown. And she instilled that in her boys. And I think that's where she would have been incredibly proud of the way William and Catherine are working at the moment. And as you say, she'd have been absolutely over the moon. She's got 5 grandchildren now. It's again, slightly shocking to think about that, but 5 grandchildren. And I think you look at Princess Charlotte, and I think you can see flashes of Diana in there. You really can. And just, you know, watch this space, because I think Princess Charlotte will be filling the front pages in a matter of years.
I believe so too. You brought up the elephant in the room, and I personally don't want to give them much publicity, but you did bring up Harry and Meghan. Do you think, I'm sure you get asked this all the time, would Diana be distraught over what he has done to the family and her legacy? And is he tarnishing her legacy with all their outlandish lies and Meghan's murching?
I think Diana would be distraught at what's happened with her 2 boys. And I know from someone who was very close to her that she would sit those boys down and say to them, you know, you only have each other. You 2 are the only 2 that know what it's really like to be in this position, and you have to look after each other. And I think that's what would break her heart more than anything, is that they're not there looking after each other. And she's right, only those 2 know the reality of living that life. So I think she'd be absolutely heartbroken. I think she was such a good mother that she would remain incredibly supportive and incredibly loving to both of her sons. But I think in reality, this situation would never have happened had Diana been alive, because I think Diana would have dealt with it very early on.
Okay. Enough about them, which many people call the Harkles. I don't want to get more publicity than they already get for themselves. So let's go on with, besides being the fresh look, brings something fresh to the royal family. She was obviously a style icon. Everybody wanted to emulate her, and her hairstyles were always, everybody wanted to picture and get her latest hairstyle. Over here we have from Friends, the Rachel style was really big, but it seems to be that Diana, even my grandmother, every time I'd see her, she said, why don't you get your hair done like Diana? She's so cute. And so Diana spanned generations as far as people who really, really admired her. And do you think Katherine is doing the same thing now?
I think Diana was even further ahead than Katherine in terms of the fashion and the style and the trend setting. And I think what's really interesting about if you look at Diana's life, and you know, on True Royalty, we've got the documentaries that take you across the range of her years. And we've got, you know, her life in jewels, and we've got, you know, pieces on her fashion and pieces about her being a mother. But I think it's really, really interesting. She was always just ahead of the sort of the zeitgeist. And you know, when she arrived, that Sloane Ranger, the frilly Pycraft collars, the floaty Laura Ashley skirts, people embraced that brideshead revisited sort of upper class British look. Then in the 80s, with the Emmanuels, the early 80s, she sort of embraced fairy tale princess, and it was floaty chiffon and that whole story. Then you move into sort of the dynasty years, and she embraces that. And then further on, you had the big shoulder pads and the whole thing. And then after the divorce, she becomes the sort of, you know, the independent woman. Just as girl power is breaking onto the scene in the early 90s, there's Diana in the sort of the black revenge dress, and you know, all of those moments. And I think Diana was probably more of a trendsetter than Katherine. And I think Katherine is very aware that she is the supporting star to William. You know, William is the star, and she's there to support him. And I think she very cleverly dresses in a way that she looks fantastic, but she never overplays her hand. She never tries to outshine him, and she is very much the supporting star. And she's learned that from, the look at Prince Philip, how he was the supporting star to the Queen. You look at the Queen Mother, she was the supporting star to the King. Each had their own star quality, but the blood royal was the one that was the spotlight should be on. And I think that's where Catherine's really got it right.
You mentioned Prince Philip. Did Diana get along with Philip? And was he an ally, as many people have claimed, an ally of Diana when it came to the divorce or getting them together?
I think the most telling thing about the Diana and Philip relationship are in the later years when the Dear Pa letters were released. And these were letters that the Princess of Wales, Diana, was writing to Prince Philip, and he was writing back to her. And they're incredibly supportive and affectionate letters to each other. And I think there's a great line in there that Philip talks about, he'd be the last person to ever give any marital advice, but how's about this? And he tries to support her. And I think certainly, I'm sure he would have been disappointed by some of the things that happened, but everything I hear is that he really tried to support her, really tried to help her. And he knew what it was like to marry into the family. He came in many ways as someone who wanted to change things. And he set about changing his own way in the same way that Diana did. But I think look to the Dear Pa letters and you see the real depth of their relationship.
And before you move on to more of True Royalty TV, which I am addicted to, I admit I have spoken about you on other shows here on this network, but let me just finish off with her funeral. Diana's funeral was unprecedented. And it came about because of the adoration of the country for her. Do you think that was a hard thing for the Queen to do, is relent and give that large funeral instead of the private family funeral that had originally been planned? Do you think that was very hard for her to change like that? Because I know she is stuck in her ways and she's a traditionalist, but it really was unprecedented.
The funeral was unprecedented. She wasn't, in theory, a member of the royal family at that point. She wasn't an HRH, but she was an adored princess. She was the mother of a future king. And I think what the Queen is utterly brilliant about is about getting tone. She understands the mood, and she understood the mood of the nation at that point. And you only need to watch the Helen Mirren film, The Queen. You only need to look at the documentaries that we have on True Royalty. That when she stepped out of that Rolls Royce in London the night before the funeral, the crowds were there. It was the tension. I was there. The tension was palpable. It was almost a sense of sort of civil unrest that the royals had caused this to happen in many ways. People were accusing the royal family of had they been responsible for her death. It was a very, very tense moment. And yet the Queen pulls up in that Rolls Royce, steps out, talks to a couple of people, and receives the flowers and places the flowers in front of the gates of Buckingham Palace. And I say, I was there. The mood changed like that. People just felt she got it right. She almost didn't need to do anything but to be there to show her respect. And then when she did the speech afterwards, then it sort of calmed the whole situation. And I think what the Queen is utterly brilliant about is about doing what's right just at the right moment. Like she did last year with the pandemic. She doesn't speak often, but when she does, she gets it spot on.
And even though we over here do not want royalty, I know the royal family has the best wishes and good wishes for the royal family. We have that for them at this time, especially this difficult time within them. So tell the people over there that America's rooting for them.
We will. Thank you very much for that.
Well, let's get back to True Royalty TV. And last night, I mean, I want to explain to the viewers that this is not just about British royals, but you bring in from all over the world. There's some wonderful documentaries on Princess Grace and the Spanish King Juan Carlos. Well, I learned so much from that. Last night I watched from Burma, the royal family that was exiled, and that's so interesting. I just can't get over how much I learned from your channel, and I'm entertained at the same time. What do you have in the works for future shows coming up?
Well, thank you for being so supportive and such a fan. And you're right. I mean, I think a lot of people think that True Royalty is about the modern day British royal family. And sure, we have lots of that. But some of our most successful shows on the channel are historical shows. So the War of the Roses, about the sort of two warring royal families in Britain fighting for the throne, does incredibly well. Queen Victoria does incredibly well. The it's going further afield. The Romanovs, what happened with the last Tsar, does so well. And you're right, coming up to sort of more current times, the Juan Carlos and his mistress. We've done this amazing film series Inside Monaco, 3 parts with Princess Grace's children at the Pink Palace in Monaco. And then you're right, all the Asian monarchies. Sort of one of my most interesting documentaries, I think, is the one about the Nepalese massacre of the Nepalese royal family, when the Crown Prince basically kills pretty well the whole family at dinner that night. And that's, this only happened a few years ago. If this was a movie, you wouldn't believe it. And I think that's what True Royalty and the royals around the world do for us. They are the greatest movies and the greatest soap operas that have ever been told. So we love all of that. Coming up, we've got some really exciting stuff coming up. We've got a lot of Diana content coming up for July through her birthday month rather. We've got an amazing series coming out later in the autumn. I can't say too much because Patricia will tell me off, but it's sort of about the relationship between the last Tsar and the Queen's grandfather, George V. And with
I see those too, the Tsar and George V. They look like twins to me. And I know they're all blood relatives, but those two look like twins.
Well, it's funny you say that. The series may well have the title Twins in it somewhere. So you spotted that. So we've got some great stuff coming up on that score. And then the one we're really excited about, which is coming out this Thursday actually, is we're doing a live stream from the unveiling of Diana's statue. So we've got the first reactions from London as to how the boys interact with each other, who's actually there, because of course the statue unveiling, that's changing on a daily basis. Will Kate be there? Won't she be there? Are the grandchildren going to go a day early to look at it? Which of the Spencer family will be there? So there's some great things coming out, and we've got a great series coming out quite soon about sort of royal palaces. So Patricia will be filling you in on all of that, but there's some great stuff coming up from royals around the world.
Yes. You get, well, besides around the world, you do get to the heart of the royals in your shows. But let me ask you, you started this streaming network in 2018. It's not that long, not that old. What was the impetus for this? How did this come about? What made you want to create a channel specifically designed for royals?
So I've been making TV shows about royals in the UK and around the world for nearly 30 years now. And wherever those shows went in the TV schedules here in the UK or in the States, they always rated incredibly well. And it didn't matter whether it was a sort of daytime series about royal cooking or a big show on NBC about William and Kate's wedding, or something about the royal nursery when the babies are being born. It just worked wherever it went. And I was talking to my two partners in the business about this, or when we were talking about setting up the business. And we just had this idea that there is such a fascination with royalty that if you could put all of the content from around the world in one place and allow people to rabbit hole the content, then it could be a really compelling offering. So you might read a story about Meghan Markle and come in to watch a documentary about, does Meghan really want to be the president of the United States, which we have. But then you start watching that, but then at the end of that film, you might be connected to another American woman who rocked the system in the palace, and you're suddenly watching a documentary about Wallis Simpson and Edward VIII. At the end of that film, you might want to know more about Edward VIII's mother and father, who were the first Windsors and set up the Windsor dynasty in 1917. So suddenly you came in on a film about Meghan Markle, and 3 hours later, you're watching a film about the first Windsors, and you're back in 1917. So that's what excited me, was we could take you around that. And then, as we've said, if you like the film about George V in 1917, how about watching the thing about the Tsar that looks just like him over in Russia? And then, boom, you're in on Meghan Markle, but you're ending up in Russia and the death of the Tsar.
Yes. And your documentaries are done so well. And I did watch the one on Camilla. And over here, we adore Diana, obviously, and we thought Camilla was Cruella, basically. But having watched that, I have a newfound admiration for the woman, and it was so enlightening. And I came to basically like her.
Well, this is great. That's what we wanted. So I personally made that documentary. I actually made that one. So thank you for picking that one out. And we are the only TV company that's ever been given access to Camilla, to the Duchess of Cornwall. And we followed her over her 70th birthday year. And this is absolutely true story. She really didn't want to do it. She was very worried about making the documentary and what the reaction would be about her. So it took a lot of persuasion to get her to that place. She's not someone who pushes herself forward. She's, again, understands what it is to be the supporting star. But when the documentary started going out on television that night, the reaction on Twitter was terrible. I mean, just awful. People go, I don't want to watch this. We don't like her. We love Diana. She's awful. And then across the hour, the mood changed. And it literally started shifting. And then she started speaking, and there were shots of her with her grandchildren. People started going, oh, she's quite nice, actually. Oh, she's not as bad as I thought. And it's absolutely true, this. By the end of the documentary, the Twitter feed was saying, do you know what? I really rather like her. And why don't we just let them find the happiness that two people in their 70s deserve, let them get on with it. And you know what? She'll probably make a great queen. And that happened in 1 hour. And I had the most wonderful response from her team at the palace afterwards saying, thank you, because you've allowed people to see who she really is. And I can tell your viewers, having spent a year with her, she is a really fantastic woman.
Well, and all we knew about her was that she broke up Charles and Diana's marriage. So getting to learn about her was a pleasure, was a true delight. And now we see who she really is. Yeah. And I can see why Charles really liked her from the very beginning. Unfortunately, I got kind of messed up in there. But.
And that's the thing, they both really loved each other, and they still love each other. And you know, the Spencer sort of and Windsor dynasties coming together, the Diana Charles match in many ways should never have happened. And had Charles been allowed to marry Camilla all those years ago, we might have had a very different story. But true love has found its way through in the end.
Yes, but then we wouldn't have those adorable little George, Charlotte, and Louis. Oh my God, aren't they so cute?
They are absolutely fantastic. I was at Kensington Palace a couple of years ago and ended up having to kick a football with Prince George, and he is a really cute little boy. And I think those three children are a real credit to William and Catherine. You know, and what I love is when you see that photograph of the Queen with her son, her grandson, and her great grandson. And someone told me that the Windsors operate a 100-year plan. And when you look at Charles, William, and George, there is the Queen's 100-year plan. You know, if everything goes smoothly, the monarchy is set to sail forward.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching them grow up. I really am, because they are so cute, and they're betting over here whether Catherine's going to have a fourth. Do you have any insight into that?
I have no idea, but I would imagine they've stopped where they are now. I think, you know, Katherine comes from that family of 3 children. And I think she's got that Middleton family, such a strong family that I think they probably wanted to, Katherine wants to sort of recreate what she had. So I would guess they're staying at 3, but I have no intel on that really.
Well, she grew up with 2 girls and a boy, and now she's got 2 boys and a girl, so we'll see what she wants to do. But right now, let me explain to everybody that True Royalty TV is in the UK, Ireland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and here in the USA. Any plans to expand?
Yeah, we're already talking to other territories. We're thrilled to say that we're now an Amazon Prime channel, so it's even easier to access True Royalty. You know, you can download it on your phones and on your laptops as an app, but it's on Comcast on the X1 system, it's on Roku, and it's an Amazon Prime channel, and it's a really easy way to get to it. And I think because of Amazon, the plan is to now roll it out into territories across the world. So hopefully soon, wherever you are, you'll be able to watch True Royalty.
I hope so, because I am addicted, and my husband will come in at night and he say, "What are you watching?" And he'll turn and say, "Oh yeah, the British ones again."
We love you. Come on, this is good.
I want to be part of you, because I just can't say enough about what I've learned. And I'm a history buff, and I thought I knew what I knew, but you're enlightening me, and in such a great, entertaining way as well. So I want to thank you so much, and I want to have you back again sometime next year when you can update us on other shows. And good luck to everybody over there with the statue and with the brothers and with everything. But for all the viewers, please check out True Royalty TV. I think there's a 7-day trial.
7-day free trial, yeah.
You don't have anything to lose, and you will most likely end up subscribing and watching it and become an addict like I am. So anyway, thank you, Nick Bullen, for spending your time with us today from across the pond, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future. And for now, let me say goodbye to the viewers, and I'll see you next time when we take another look beyond the red carpet. Thanks for watching.